This is a story that I wrote years ago that um, involves some friends who own a sheep ranch in Wyoming. As part of what occurs on a sheep ranch, there's usually sheepdogs or other types of guard dogs, and particularly with the dogs, usually border collies that herd sheep. They are actually very valuable animals because it takes a lot of training and they're with the person constantly. So there's a very close bond formed. This story is called The Rescued. Panda was the name of our rancher's friends, Pat and Sharon's favorite border collie. The dog was much more than a favorite pet. He was a highly trained sheepdog that could move a flock or a single sheep based on a series of varying whistled commands. That made him extremely valuable, several $1,000s if he were sold, which they would have never sold him. Panda's real value went beyond his learned skills, though. Those who have pets they love know of which I speak. Pat and Sharon came to the city to visit relatives and friends. While at a relative's home, Panda disappeared out of the backyard. There was a frantic, ever expanding search of the yard, the neighborhood, and a large park nearby. They called us to assist in the search, but after a day's searching, there was no sign of Panda. The next day, we repeated the search, but Pat and Sharon had to leave that evening. Pat's sister and my wife agreed to split the duty of checking the city animal pound and the Dumb Friends League each day, which they did for 3 months. We printed flyers and posted them throughout the neighborhood and park, but again, to no avail. As the months slipped by, the thoughts of Panda became more and more infrequent. We had long ago given up hope of finding him and shifted our hopes to the unknowable, hoping instead that somehow he was in a new, good home. Nearly 2 years later, my wife and I were driving along a parkway near the downtown area. We passed an obviously homeless man laying 50 feet away on a sunny, grassy spot. Next to him was a dog. My wife shouted, "That's Panda. Go around the block." "What? Panda?" "Panda. Pat and Sharon's Panda. Go around the block." I said, "What? You glimpsed some guy with a dog 50 feet away, and you think the dog you've seen only a dozen times in your life and haven't seen for 2 years, and you think that's Panda? You've got to be kidding." We made a loop and drove by again. My wife became more certain that the dog was Panda, and I became more certain that she had just made a leap into some alternate delusional state. When we got home, she immediately called Sharon, and as luck would have it, Pat was going to be in a nearby town that weekend and decided to drive the extra 70 miles into the city. So there they were, the dog, the bum, and the sheep herder face to face. Pat whistled a command, and the dog raced immediately to Pan's feet and sat wagging his tail furiously. Even after 2 years of separations, Panda's reaction to the command was instantaneous. Panda had been found. The homeless man was clearly surprised at the dog's response, as evidenced by his shocked look, which quickly waned into a concerned look. Pat said, "Is this your dog?" "Yeah, I found him a couple years ago," the man said, "but he looks like he knows you." "Yep, and I know him," Pat said. There were a few seconds of awkward silence. The bum cleared his throat and rubbed his stubble chin as Pat knelt down and stroked Panda's muzzle and shoulder. Panda wiggled from the tip of his tail to his middle, licking Pat's hand and arm. "I know that dog is yours," the man said, "but you gotta know that he's my life. He's my only friend in the world. I found a vet who gives him free care, and the store downtown gives me dog food for him. I take care of him, and he takes care of me. I'm sure that's true, Pat replied. Where did you find him? Down by the park. He wasn't very streetwise. He almost got hit in traffic, so I rescued him. Panda then wandered back over to the man and sat down beside him, but didn't take his eyes off Pat. What are you going to do? The man asked. I don't know, Pat said. Panda's a great dog and great with sheep. He and I traveled a lot of miles together. I knew he was smart and well trained, the man said. Another long, awkward silence followed. Pat stood up, and Panda immediately came to him and sat at his feet, looking up expectantly. Far too many dogs have no one to love them, while other dogs are lucky enough to have someone who does. But it is the rare dog that is truly loved by two unconnected people. Panda was fortunate enough to be one of those dogs. We saw the homeless man walking or lying with Panda quite a few times over the following years. I'm still not sure if the homeless man rescued Panda or if Panda rescued the homeless man. As a note, it wasn't long after that we started seeing the paw print on the back of the cars that said, "Who rescued who?" I've always wondered if this story, was the genesis of that thought. What little research I could do, all I could tell is the story's printing and when those first magnetic stickers occurred was the same year. So who knows? Who rescued whom?